Okay, and we are now live on Facebook. We can go ahead and start. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Adriana Stewart, and I'm currently a junior in political science and sports medicine double major studying at Howard University, and I have the pleasure of serving as PAWPAC's social media intern. PAWPAC is continuing our interview series with our endorsed candidates so that you all can get to know who they are. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing District 94 State Representative candidate Jene Huffman-Gilreath. Jene, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Of course, and we'll go right into the questions. So one of the questions I like to always start with is, we're aware of the fact that you're running for the District 94 House of Representatives seat, but can you tell us who you are outside of politics?
Yeah, and boy, that's very hard as women. We have a hard time with who we are outside of any given thing. So, in fact, I often start off with, I'm a wife, a mom, a daughter, and the response is always, well, that's your role with somebody else, but who are you? So I am all of those things, but I'm also a professional. I work for the city of Rogers as a shared service manager. I've been heavily involved in Arkansas since my parents moved here in 1987, and this has been home for me. And I volunteer heavily in different aspects of the community that mean a lot to me or to my family as well. I am a mother of 3 daughters. I have twins that are 21 and will be graduating college this year. And I have a 17-year-old daughter who's a junior in high school. And I'm just a very, very proud mom. I have a husband. He and I own a business together that helps with eco-smart water devices, restaurants primarily. I'm a daughter of a pastor and an elementary school teacher. Both have gone into retirement to take care of my sister who became disabled after a car wreck. So that's kind of who I am. And I'm your neighbor. I'm just like every other woman on the street, I think.
That's a great intro. I love to hear that. Most of our candidates are like, I don't know where to start, but I'll just start. And so it's really great to hear, your responses and stuff. But what inspired you to run for office, and more specifically for the District 94 State Representative seat?
So I ran 2 years ago, and obviously did not get elected. It was not a failure. I just did not get enough votes. So I think women have a hard time if they don't get the outcome that they are going for. They feel like it's a failure. And it becomes an impediment to them moving on a lot of times. And I had some great support when I ran last time that helped me realize that, it often takes more than one run. What instigated my run last time was the representative who is still currently there but will not be running again. So I'm not running against an incumbent. Was a very single-issued individual and rather harsh toward the community, was not super responsive to constituents who didn't agree with her, who weren't of her party and her of like mind. And I had just gotten to the point where I saw too many people hurting, not enough done. Our district was not being fought for in Little Rock. My girls do play a big role in this because they had gotten to a point where I felt comfortable stepping away. I was transitioning in my role as a mother. I didn't have to be as hands-on with them. So the timing and opportunity were right, and nobody else was running. Nobody else had stepped up, and it was right at the end of filing. And it was that gut check of, if you can't complain, Jene, if you aren't going to do anything and nobody else is stepping up. So you have the bandwidth now. So shut up and show up. So that's why I ran 2 years ago and had really felt like I'd made a big impact in the community. I had the narrowest margin of any Democrat in Benton County. I knew that this seat was flippable. And so I immediately staked my claim that I was going to run again. And so here I am, the incumbent, like I said, did not run again. So we do have a leg up. We've got a lot of name recognition out there, and we're really moving the needle. It is very winnable, but it has taken a lot of work.
For sure. And it's good to see that you're stepping up and you're taking action. And you also mentioned you've made a very big impact within your community. I know you've served as the VP of Arbus Bank, an owner and a consultant of Huffman Consulting, and a shared service manager for Rogers Water Utilities. In addition to that, you've been heavily involved in community aspects as you're a member of the Rogers Chamber of Commerce, and a founding member of the African Education Resource in Northwest Arkansas Emerging Leaders. Can you discuss how your work within all of these companies and organizations has prepared you to run for office?
Yeah. So representatives by nature represent. Um, and if you have only one frame of reference for anything, it's hard to represent a greater, larger body of individuals. Because we're all unique, we have a lot of similarities, but we all have different and unique backgrounds. And I think it's vitally important for whoever's representing to acknowledge that I don't have any frame of reference or background for being a Black male. Um, but I can reach out, and I know the community, so I know where to go when I have questions to ask, rather than just shoot from the hip and make decisions that don't represent. As a lender and a banker, I dealt with everything from people who were just trying to build credit or restore credit or make ends meet, to the ultra wealthy, depending upon where I was in my career at Arvest. I also managed a business banking division. So it truly helped me understand how entrepreneurship works or doesn't work within the state of Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas. Shared services manager with the city of Rogers has been a phenomenal way for me to learn what really goes into lawmaking and primarily public finance, what it takes for these huge civic projects, whether it's roads or streets or sewer infrastructure, the lead time that it takes. It helps tremendously to have some knowledge and background in how to make that work. And as far as volunteering, when you volunteer and you give of yourself and you give of whether it's time or money or knowledge of specific areas, you really understand where the gaps are. Because if, we wouldn't need to volunteer if everybody had all their needs met. And so being able to step in and give whatever I could to help various constituents really helps me understand really what the needs are in the community.
And speaking of needs in the community, I want to switch and talk about your platform a little bit. So you include education, infrastructure, the economy, and well-being. Can you touch on these areas of your vision and how you plan to impact them as state representative?
Absolutely. So education is vital. I think the majority of people can agree that public education is what set the United States apart from other countries when we first made it compulsory and open for individuals. We were the first modern country to provide education free of charge, and it made a huge difference. It allowed us to become industrialized and to start leveling the playing field. Now, we fell short in some areas and we still continue to fall short. So I think teachers need to have a competitive pay scale and benefits. We've got to be able to not only attract them, but also retain them, because it is an extremely hard job. My mom was a public school teacher for 30 plus years. She took out of her pocket every school year, every quarter, to help kids who didn't have things that they need, to help get her classroom set up, to bring food to kids. I mean, you just see so much as a school teacher, and we've got to be able to provide for them. It's vital. We also need, in my opinion, and what I have read and seen, is we have to institute a universal pre-K system and after-school programs. It not only helps the child, but it also helps working families. Childcare is very hard to come by. Safe childcare is very hard to come by. It's incredibly expensive. There are many people who have childcare expenses that could be a mortgage payment. So If the state provides that, some states have already, and we're able to see huge differences in how the families operate and how the kids are able to operate. When it comes to infrastructure, I work in water and sewer, so that's kind of my passion right now. But we need to make sure that we have clean water for years to come, and we need to make sure that our waste is taken care of. Having a sanitary sewer system is kind of what separates us from a lot of developing countries who have roads and telephones and internet, but they have no way to maintain the clarity and health of their water because their sanitation system is not up to snuff. And Arkansas has a very aging system. Economy and the well-being, we've got to make sure that our citizens, one, are healthy. So we have to have access to good, affordable health care, which in any part of the state, there are people who struggle to have access. So we've got to make sure that we shore that up. We also need to make sure that people have access to capital so that they can start a business should they want to. We need to make sure that we have small business development centers opened up and readily accessible for individuals so they can walk in and say, I have no college background, or I have no expertise in running a business, but here's my idea. Can you help me? Where do I even start? And those are easy, inexpensive things for us to do.
I definitely agree. Really on the education part, my mom is a public school teacher, and so a lot of the experiences that you touched on, she's had to do also. So it's very valuable. But you touched on your platform, and we touched on a bunch of different topics today. Is there anything else you'd like to speak on, just about your platform or in general before we go?
Well, I'm so excited that so many people become motivated to run, or that we have individuals your age, like my daughter's age, who have become excited. I hate the reason people have become excited, but the reason that we have the opportunities that we have is because we have access to vote. And too many of us have taken, or too many people have just taken that for granted and not exercised it. So get out and vote. Make sure that you know your rights when you go to vote. If you have any issues, there are phone numbers for you to call, but reach out to your representatives too. Whether the election turns out the way I want it to, or you guys want it to, we have to be a citizenry that holds our representative officials accountable. If there's no accountability, things go amok. And so thank you so much for your time and for doing what you're doing, because it's vitally important that people understand who's running, why they're running, and what they stand for.
Without a doubt. And Jene, I just want to thank you again for taking the time to join me today to discuss, key elements from your platform, but to also allow us to get to know who you are. I hope everyone who has been watching is motivated to vote tomorrow, or on November 3rd. And Paul Pack is wishing you the best of luck with your campaign, and we hope to see a win following this election. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and head off. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. We will see you next time.